from Politico, we haven't seen a pardon as sweeping as Hunter Biden's in generations. I mean, it's absolutely wild. I think I have the actual statement here from Joe himself. He says, today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter from the day I took office. I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted without aggravating factors like using a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser. People are almost never brought to trial on a felony charge solely for how they filled out a gun form. Those who are late paying their taxes because of serious addictions, but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties, are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. He then basically says, no reasonable person who looks at the facts, there's a bit more here. He says, the DOJ had a plea deal, it fell through, and then goes on to say blah, blah, blah. But here's where it gets interesting. He says a full unconditional pardon for those offenses against the U.S. which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted by special counsel David C. Weiss on docket, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. The interesting thing here is that it's going back 11 years. And more importantly, when this pardon was issued, it pardoned Hunter for an additional 4 hours into the future, which many people pointed out he was free to commit any federal crime he wanted because the pardon was that broad. We have not seen something like this in generations or ever. And it is, I believe it is fair to say, and I stand by my belief in this, that this was the intention is to cover up the international influence peddling, China, Moscow, and the Burisma in Ukraine. And I'd actually go one step further. And I normally don't make big assumptions like this, but I actually think the gun charge and the tax charge were intentionally brought about for the purpose of giving Joe Biden plausible deniability when he did pardon Hunter Biden. So we were asking ourselves all throughout the year, like, why are they charging Hunter? I mean, this is Merrick Garland's DOJ. Joe Biden could fire him and say, don't go after my son. How dare you? And the argument was they're using it as an excuse so that when they go after Trump, they can say they're not biased. Sure. I think there's a strong probability that they said, hey, if we lose this election, Trump is coming after us over Ukraine Burisma, and there's nothing we can do about it. What do we do? Okay, well, we'll issue a pardon for Hunter and his role and what he did at Burisma. But issue a pardon? If the year comes to the end and we say Hunter's pardoned over Burisma, they're going to say, what? What does that mean? You give him a couple light charges that are weird, and then they say, we're going to pardon him for these charges, but make the time frame very broad so it'll cover all of those Burisma-related scandals as well.
I think that I don't know that I have a strong conviction as to whether or not the intent of the gun charges and stuff was so that way they could get a broader blanket immunity. But I think it is pretty... An
excuse for a pardon.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a take on that. But, I mean, it's possible, but I don't have any kind of inclination for or against that. But that being besides the point, it is clear that this is about more than just the gun and tax charges, because there's no reason to go back to 10 years. I would like to see Congress subpoena Hunter Biden now because he's no longer protected by the Fifth Amendment. So he would have to actually answer any questions. He can no longer say, I stand on the Fifth Amendment. So if there is anything that is that's violated the law that either I believe his uncle has done or that his dad has done, he would be obligated to discuss it or talk about it. He couldn't say, I refuse to comment on this because it could implicate me. So
yeah, but
that would be nice.
I've heard that, but it's kind of strange because that means this pardon covers every single potential crime he could have committed, meaning he has to testify to any of the weirdest things he may have done completely outside of any of these scandals. That seems weird to me.
It does, but you could start. The thing is, the laptop has a lot of information, and I personally don't know all the stuff. But
this means that he's been pardoned for any federal sex trafficking.
Yeah.
We got a lot of weird stuff on that laptop. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I think the majority of us in this room, the reason we're upset about it is because the Democrats as a whole, I mean, you shared a video of this, of them literally talking for 9 minutes. Your video was hysterical because it was sped up. But no one really has a problem with a father pardoning his son, saying, I'm going to defend my son. The issue that we have with this is that he said he was not going to do it. He lied directly to the American people. There's many articles that are out right now saying that it was always talked about in private that this was on the table. And so we knew that he was lying in the wholesale. But and this is something we
No, I agree with the lying part, but I actually disagree. He's a father pardoning his son. There's two reasons why I would disagree he should not have pardoned his son. And I'll throw it to Matt Walsh, who made the point almost immediately. You know, it's one thing to protect your son because you don't want him to go to prison, but it's another thing to enable your son to be a bad guy who's creating shell corporations or whatever he's accused of doing to bypass taxes. You're not actually helping your son if you keep bailing him out of all the horrible things he does. But I think he shouldn't have got the pardon because I wanted to see him challenge the gun charge to the Supreme Court to get it thrown out. That they're charging him for self-incriminating on a Nix form.
So when I'm looking at this, you have to also consider that he waited until this point and said for this long he was not going to pardon his son because they threw every wrench in the system that they possibly could for an extended period of time. They stopped this from getting prosecuted in Washington, D.C. They stopped it from getting prosecuted in Florida. Every step of the way, I think he truly walked out there for a period of time and said, I will not pardon my son. And the reason is because he thought that he could use that leverage of power from his position as president to stop the process. And so once Donald Trump won, then all the floodgates were going to open up against Hunter Biden. And just remember what they did to Donald Trump. I mean, they sent Miami SWAT through his front door because he had allegedly documents in his building. I mean, to the rest of the presidents and vice presidents, NARA, the National Archives Records Administration, basically issued a casting call. Said, check between your couch cushions and make sure you don't have any classified documents like H.W. Bush was going to find something from Saddam Hussein in his chest of drawers, right? But instead, they send all of the police and, basically raid Mar-a-Lago over allegedly having documents. And in addition to that, continue to throw lawfare after lawfare against him through the Merrick Garland Department of Justice. And so once Trump wins, they realize we're no longer going to be able to use the wheels of our justice to our advantage. And it's completely off the table now. So he might have gone out there for months saying, I will not pardon my son because he thought he could use his position of power to his family's advantage.
It's possible that they didn't think they would lose.
They didn't think they were going to lose.
There was probably, especially.
Did you?
Trump was gone.
But did you see the story that Kamala's internals always had her behind Donald Trump? They knew she was.
Was
down.
he making comments about not pardoning Hunter before Kamala?
That's the thing.
Took
Before
over?
he got swapped out.
I think that he was under the impression he thought that he was going to be the guy. And I think that the reason that he was behaving the way he did is because he believed that he was going to beat Donald Trump. He's like, I'm the only guy that's beaten Donald Trump, and there's no one else that apparently is going to. I'm the guy that the Democrats have chosen to run. So he'd made all the, he was making all the moves as if he was going to be, it was going to be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. And then the debate just, threw a wrench in the works, and they had to make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also the statement that he made saying that very few people are ever charged for falsifying a record on a gun buying thing. Obviously, these people have never dealt with the ATF. They've never dealt with trying to run a gun shop or anything. The ATF is so out of control. The Department of Justice is so out of control. I know several people, and I mean, like when you're filling out these gun forms, you go over them very carefully because if you mess them up, you're going to you might go to jail. You also lose all your guns for a period of 180 days. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So I do think that that the intent was to set the stage for a second Biden administration. I don't think that it was about that. I don't think that they believed that they were gonna lose. I think that they believed that all of the years of 4 years of 8 years of Donald Trump's the baddest man in the world and the orange man bad and et cetera, et cetera. I think they believed that they were gonna win. I think that they probably were believing the internal polling saying that Donald Trump wasn't going to be able to beat Joe Biden, and I think that it came up and it bit him in the ass.
And also, you really got to think about when Joe Biden came up through the ranks in politics. In his mind, he had everything going for him that he needed to have. He had all of the Hollywood elites. He had all of the media companies on his side. He was trashing them through earned media, and he really thought, I think he was going to win. I legitimately don't believe that Joe Biden knew he was out of the race until it was announced on the news. I
agree.
Yeah.
That letter that was posted on his X, I don't think he wrote.
Not at all.
No.
They probably kept telling him to bow out, and he said no. That week, he said, I'm not going to do it. Then this letter appears on his Twitter account being like, yeah, I'm out. I don't think he wrote it or knew about it. But so let me show you this. We had this viral video, 9 minutes of Democrats and liberal media saying that Joe would never pardon his son. And this morning, I was thinking 9 minutes is too long. I don't want to watch 9 minutes of these people. It's bad enough I got to watch 1 minute of them. So I decided I would make my own edit of it where every time they say it, it speeds up and exponentially increases in speed until it's incomprehensible shrieking, which to be fair is already the case. But I will play a little bit just so you can hear it. And this is not about me making the joke. It's about you understanding the media and how they responded to Joe saying he would not issue this pardon. If it plays.
Before a family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it. He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that. The president has ruled out pardoning his son. Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
Okay, you get the point. And then if you want to watch the photo, you can, but eventually turns into this. Because it's no, in all seriousness, 9 minutes was too long for me to listen to. Now, here's why.
Far more intelligent than the normal speed, by the way.
And that is true. I'd rather just hear that. But here's why it's interesting. This story from the Daily Wire. Pardoning Hunter was on the table when Joe Biden said he wouldn't. Biden publicly said he wouldn't pardon his son, but privately discussed doing just that. Now they're trying to make the claim that it was Jill Biden who pressured Joe into doing it. It's all lies. This story, according to a Sunday report from NBC News, during the same period when Joe was saying we will not do it publicly and on TV, and everyone in the media was acting like they believed him, they say, quote, the president had discussed pardoning his son with some of his closest aides, at least since Hunter Biden's conviction in June, said two people with direct knowledge of the discussions about the matter. They said it was decided at the time that he would publicly say he would not pardon his son, even though doing so remained on the table. Chris Wallace was right. It's that he was saying, if I lose, I'll pardon him. If not, I won't. And then he would have the DOJ do something, or probably would have pardoned him no matter what. The fact is, the media are not smart people. We know they're not smart people. And I have to imagine some of them at least know for sure they're lying. I absolutely think so. I think most of you do too. When they're sitting there saying, well, look, he said he's not going to do it. And then they act surprised that behind the scenes, he was saying he'd do it the whole time.
I think this is an Occam's razor type situation where the simplest explanation is really what's going on. Joe Biden was always going to pardon Hunter Biden. Well, originally he was going for the sweetheart plea deal that the judge had to throw out. The judge who was ruling in that case had to throw out because he thought it was so ridiculous because it also included that part where he couldn't be convicted for any other crimes that he committed in the past decade or so. So I really think that's the situation there. And they couldn't have done it sooner because of the election and the politics involved with that. So it's really as simple as that. Hunter was never going to go to jail. He was either going to get a sweetheart deal or Joe Biden was going to pardon him, and that's what ended up happening. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are very close. They talk every day. Let's not forget Thanksgiving just happened. I'm sure they were talking about this over Thanksgiving dinner. When Joe Biden was thinking about dropping out, Hunter Biden was one of his close confidants for whatever reason. So we need to understand how close they are.
And I want to stress this too. For someone in the chat asked, can you pardon someone for crimes they haven't yet committed? Yes. What my understanding right now is it's not been challenged, but this is what they just did.
Well, it's the closest thing to the purge we've ever had in the United States. Hunter Biden can go out and do whatever the heck he wants to this evening.
As long as it's a federal crime, he's good.
As long as it's a federal crime.
So in D.C., he can do whatever he wants.
He can't run a stoplight, but he can shoot somebody in the middle of 3rd Avenue.
In D.C., it's all federal.
It's all federal. It is indeed. And
he's just driving around D.C. doing who knows what.
I think the biggest point that we all need to take away from this is to just realize how complicit the media has been, how outrageously and aggressively the president of the United States lied to you. It's just another lesson that you do not hate these people enough. These people will lie to you at every single turn. They will never be honest with you. And at the end of the day, these people hate you. They think that you're childish. They think they need to hold your hand throughout everything and that they are your elites. And that's why there's a two-tiered system of justice.
And the media is not pissed off that Hunter Biden was pardoned. They're pissed off that now we get compilations like this of them defending the president and saying that he said he would not pardon them. And this is like the 3rd or 4th time in the last few weeks that something like this has happened, a complete 180 reversal. I just remember Joe Biden saying, I am not stepping down. And so the media gets their talking points and they go out there and saying he is not going to step down. And then it happens. And now it's this Hunter Biden thing. There's like 2 other examples. And now they're just angry at him. They can't even defend it anymore.
Let's jump to this.
Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. We were hearing that for ages,
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.